Urgent Dallas Cowboys fans, do not miss this. What just happened? You won't believe this one. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel because here we bring you daily videos with the latest Dallas Cowboys updates. And to not miss anything, activate the notifications. Alright, folks. Today we're diving deep into what has been without a doubt one of the most tumultuous and intriguing periods in the Dallas Cowboys' recent history. It's that time of year again, an offseason filled with uncertainty, tough decisions, and the kind of strategic moves that could shape the franchise's future for years to come. And trust me, what's happening right now is not just about a few roster tweaks or draft picks. It's about fundamental shifts in philosophy, leadership, and how the Cowboys are planning to climb back to elite status after a disappointing finish to the 2023 season. So, what's the big news? Well, the Cowboys ended the season with a sour note, finishing with a record of 7-9-1, which is frankly a far cry from their usual standards. The last game against their division rivals, the New York Giants, was nothing short of a nightmare for Dallas fans. A loss that beyond the scoreboard exposed some glaring issues that have been simmering beneath the surface for quite some time. And now, as the dust settles, the team's eyes are firmly set on the off-season, where critical decisions will be made. Decisions that could define the trajectory of the franchise for the next few years. One of the most talked about topics right now is the state of the defense. Everyone's asking, will the Cowboys stick with their current defensive coordinator Matt Everful? Or will they pull the trigger on a change? The signs point towards a potential shakeup, especially considering the recent comments from Jerry Jones, the ever-controversial owner and general manager. Jerry's words have been interpreted by many as a clear indication that the Cowboys are considering moving on from Everful, who has been under fire for the defense's struggles this season. But let's not forget Jerry Jones has a reputation for being unpredictable. He's the kind of guy who loves to keep everyone guessing until the very last minute. So, while the prevailing sentiment is that a change is imminent, nothing is set in stone yet. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Just as the Cowboys are contemplating their defensive future, a potential game share has suddenly become available. On Sunday night, the Atlanta Falcons made a bold move. They fired their head coach, Raheem Morris. And this isn't just any coach. Morris has an impressive track record as a defensive mind. His time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was marked by a remarkable turnaround of their defense, especially during his first stint when he helped lead Tampa Bay to their very first Super Bowl appearance after serving as a defensive quality control coach. His secondary coaching stint in Tampa Bay saw him elevate the secondary from a middling 19th in the league to the number 1 passing defense. This kind of pedigree is exactly what the Cowboys need right now. If they decide to part ways with Everful, Morris would be an ideal candidate. His expertise in defensive schemes, his ability to develop secondary players and his proven track record of turning defenses around make him a tantalizing option. Imagine what he could do with the personnel Dallas has, particularly with players like Trayvon Diggs, who has shown flashes of brilliance, but also moments of inconsistency. Morris's secondary-focused approach could help transform that unit into one of the league's top pass defenses, which has been a glaring weakness all season long. But of course, bringing in Morris isn't just about his resume. It's also about the market. As soon as the Falcons fired him, the buzz began. Word is many teams will be vying for his services, not just the Cowboys. The NFL coaching carousel is always in motion, and Morris is now officially on the radar as one of the hottest defensive minds available. The Cowboys will have to act fast if they want to land him. Waiting too long could mean losing out to other teams with deeper pockets or more aggressive front offices. This leads us into a broader discussion about the Cowboys' defensive struggles this season. Let's be honest, this was a season where the defense, especially the pass defense, was embarrassingly porous. Opposing quarterbacks seemed to pick apart Dallas at will, and the secondary, despite having talent like Trayvon Diggs, couldn't hold up under pressure. The defensive line, which was supposed to generate pressure, often looked pedestrian, and the linebacker corps struggled to contain the run and cover in space. These issues weren't just minor hiccups. They were fundamental flaws that exposed the Cowboys' defense as one of the league's worst in many critical categories. Looking back at recent seasons, the Cowboys have historically been known for their stout defense in the early 2010s with players like DeMarcus Ware, Sean Lee, and others setting the standard. But in recent years, the defense has regressed and coaching changes haven't always paid off. The hiring of Overhaul was supposed to bring a new identity focused on aggressive, disciplined defense, but it hasn't delivered the results. The question now is whether a new coordinator, perhaps Morris, could bring that spark back. His defenses have been known to be aggressive, disciplined, and adaptable traits that the Cowboys desperately need right now. Statistically speaking, the Cowboys' defense this year ranked near the bottom in several key metrics. For example, their pass defense was among the worst in the league, allowing opponents to complete a high percentage of passes with many big plays that kept opponents in games they could have otherwise controlled. The secondary struggles were evident in the number of explosive plays allowed, and their inability to generate consistent pressure on quarterbacks put extra pressure on an already vulnerable secondary. Furthermore, if we analyze the impact of this poor defensive performance on the team's overall record, it's clear that the defense was a major factor in the Cowboys' disappointing season. Offensively, Dak Prescott continued to perform at a high level, and players like CeeDee Lamb provided flashes of brilliance. But the defense's inability to get stops, particularly in critical moments, often meant the Cowboys had to play catch-up or settle for field goals. This imbalance was one of the main reasons they couldn't sustain winning streaks or clinch the playoffs more convincingly. Now you might be wondering, how does this compare historically? Well, if we look at the last few seasons, Dallas has been caught in a cycle of offensive success paired with defensive struggles. The 2022 season saw improvements in some areas, but overall, the defense still lagged behind the league's top units. The 2023 season was supposed to be a step forward, especially with the addition of players and new schemes, but it turned out to be a step back. The team's inability to consistently stop the pass or generate turnovers was a significant factor in their record and their eventual failure to make the playoffs. That brings us to the big picture. Moving forward, the Cowboys need a strategic overhaul. They have the offensive talent with Dak Prescott leading the way and players like CeeDee Lamb providing game-changing plays. But if the defense continues to falter, it's going to be very difficult to contend at the highest level. The potential hiring of Morris could be the catalyst for that change, injecting new energy and a fresh defensive philosophy. But it's not just about the coordinator, it's also about how the team adapts, whether they keep key players, and how they approach the draft and free agency. Speaking of the draft, Cowboys will be looking to address their defensive needs in the upcoming months. They'll likely target a pass rusher or a secondary player to complement their existing roster. The draft needs to be strategic, balancing immediate needs with long-term development. It's a delicate dance, especially because the team's front office, led by Jerry Jones, has historically been aggressive in free agency and draft moves, but in the context of the season, it's clear that defensive upgrades are urgent. Now, what about the upcoming games and rivalries? The Cowboys' schedule always seems to be packed with high-stakes matchups, especially against division rivals like the Eagles, Giants, and Washington Commanders. These rivalries are not just about bragging rights. They often have playoff implications. If the Cowboys want to return to the postseason, they'll need to strengthen their defense to handle these fierce rivals. The Giants, in particular, proved to be a thorn in Dallas's side this season, and that loss in Week 18 was a wake-up call. It exposed the team's vulnerabilities and underscored the importance of defensive consistency. Looking ahead, the off-season is full of potential. Will the Cowboys make bold moves? Will they bring in a defensive coordinator with a proven track record like Morris? Or will they stick with the status quo, hoping improvements come from within? The answer to these questions will determine not just their 2024 season, but also their long-term competitiveness. The NFL is a league where adjustments are crucial, and the teams that innovate and execute at a high level tend to rise to the top. But let's pause here for a moment, because all this talk about coaching schemes and roster moves is exciting. But it ultimately comes down to one thing: how well the players execute on the field. Players like Trayvon Diggs, who has the talent to be a shutdown corner, will need to elevate their game. The defensive line with its pass rushers must generate pressure without needing blitzes constantly. And the linebackers must become more disciplined in coverage and run support. The coaching staff, whether it's Everfling or Morris arriving, will need to maximize the talent they have. Now, reflecting on the broader landscape of the NFL, the Cowboys are not alone in facing these challenges. Many top teams have struggled with defensive consistency at times, and the league is increasingly offense-oriented. But the teams that can balance a potent offense with a resilient defense tend to dominate. The Cowboys have the offensive weapons: Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and others. So, investing in the defense is the logical next step. That's why the potential hire of Morris is so intriguing. He could help Dallas find that elusive balance. So, what can we expect in the coming months? First, a flurry of coaching interviews and roster evaluations. The Cowboys will analyze every position, every scheme, and every player. Free agency will be a critical period. They might target veteran defenders or young prospects who can make an immediate impact. The draft will follow, and the team's front office will need to be strategic, balancing the desire for immediate help with long-term planning. And all the while, fans will be glued to every development, hoping that the franchise finally turns the corner after this disappointing season. In conclusion, this offseason marks a pivotal moment for the Dallas Cowboys. The decision to potentially part ways with Everfling and bring in a defensive coordinator like Morris could be the change they need. It's a story of rebuilding, of learning from mistakes, and of seizing new opportunities. The team has the talent, the fan support, and the history of success to bounce back if they make the right choices. Now, as fans, we should stay optimistic, but also realistic about the challenges ahead. The Cowboys are at a crossroads, and the decisions made in the coming months will echo for seasons to come. And now, Dallas Cowboys fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Do you believe Morris is the right man for the job? Are you hopeful that Jerry Jones will finally act decisively, or do you think the team should stick with Everfling a little longer? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cowboys' future. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, analysis, and news. So stay tuned for all the latest Dallas Cowboys insights. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Cowboys!